It all starts with the voter rolls, the list of more than 400,000 people registered to vote in Kern County. Because of California's universal vote-by-mail law, every person on this list is mailed a ballot every election.
The mail-in ballots, that's just, to me, it's just a recipe for disaster. It really is.
That's been the source of concern for residents like Taft Republican Assembly President Vince Mayoko and Election Integrity Project Kern Coordinator Tom Pavich. They're worried a messy voter roll leads to mail-in ballots ending up in the wrong hands, leaving the possibility someone could vote twice or in place of someone else.
Dirty rolls, dirty polls.
Election officials acknowledge the voter rolls aren't perfect. They simply can't be. The list is fluid, constantly changing when people register to vote, move away, die, or update their information in any way. Reflecting those changes in the roll takes time. But we wanted to know, are the voter rolls merely imperfect, or are they truly dirty? So flawed that they could affect the outcome of an election.
Heard a story that there was verified that there were just under 200 people in Kern County that are no longer with us that actually quote-unquote voted.
We have to start with what exactly we mean by dirty. One concern is that dead people are still on Kern's roll.
We get reports from Public Health Department, death notices.
Amy Espinoza is the Assistant Registrar of Voters and is set to take over the department next year. She explains the Elections Department takes voters off the active list when it receives Health Department reports of their deaths. But how reliable is that? As a sample, we went through every single death certificate in Kern County from March 2020 to March 2021. More than 6,000 people died that year. By hand, we searched Kern's voter roll for the name of every single one of those 6,000 people. We found death certificates for 2 people who appear to still be on Kern's active registered voter list. Neither one is recorded as voting in the 2022 primary. We analyzed the voter registration list as of July 2022 and found 244 voters with the birth year 1900. That would make them 122 years old. If you find that hard to believe, you're not alone. But there's more to it than what meets the eye. Of those 244 voters, all but 2 have the birth date January 1st, 1900.
Registrations haven't always required a birthday. And so some of those registrations that were grandfathered in, if you will, unless someone re-registers, we don't have that birthday.
As Espinoza explains, before the 1970s, voters didn't include their birthdays when registering to vote. If a person hasn't updated his or her registration since then, the computer assigns the January 1st, 1900 birth date by default. But that still doesn't mean some of these people couldn't be dead, especially if they registered to vote before the 1970s, which would make them at least 70 years old. We called, mailed letters, or knocked on the doors of each of the 71 people with the birth date January 1st, 1900, who actually voted in the 2022 primary election to find out if they're alive. We heard back from 15. Their real birthdays range from 1920 to 1942, all before the 1970s when putting your birth date became a requirement. That still leaves 56 people who voted and didn't get back to us. We don't know if these people are alive. But it's also key to remember there are 56 out of 113,560 who voted in Kern's primary, or less than 1%, 0.0493% to be exact.
You could have as many as 1,000, 1,500 duplicates. Look at how close the auditor-controller race was, and tell me that this is not an issue. That's well within that margin.
Another big concern with the voter rolls is the same person listed 2 times. That would mean the voter would receive 2 ballots at his or her house and could vote twice. Of the 113,560 who voted in the 2022 primary in Kern, we found 34 pairs of voters, 68 in total, who have the exact same name and address as another person. Once again, we called, knocked on the door, or mailed a letter to each one. We heard back from from 28 voters or 14 pairs. In 6 cases, the 2 voters with the same name and address were a mother and daughter or grandmother and granddaughter. In 1 case, it was a husband and wife with the same name. The rest were father and sons who didn't put suffixes of junior or senior.
I was able to identify almost 200 former athletes that went to school at Taft College, some as long as 15 years ago, that were still on the voter roll.
Now, here's where the accuracy of the voter roll gets the most tricky.
As far as someone moving away, we don't know that unless someone brings it to our attention.
Espinoza says if a voter moves even to just another home in Kern County and doesn't update their voter registration, that person's ballot could be sent to the old address, leaving the possibility someone else could get a hold of it. The post office, the DMV, and other counties' elections offices all communicate with one another if it appears someone has moved. But officially taking that person off Kern's voter roll still requires confirmation from the voter.
It does fall on a voter.
Just last month, Kern County District Attorney Cynthia Zimmer charged Fairfax School District Board of Trustees member Palmer Mullen with voter fraud. Mullen allegedly registered to vote at an address he didn't actually live at and proceeded to vote in the 2018 and 2020 elections using that address. The voter roll is a complex, constantly evolving document. When we're looking at concerns like whether dead people voted or the same person voted twice, we're talking about a very small number. In the 2022 primary, fewer than 200 people had a birth date of 1900 or the same name and address as another voter and didn't get back to us to clarify their birthday or tell us they had a relative at their address with the same name. Kern's closest race in June had a difference of 289 votes. But there are aspects of the system, such as moving, that really do rely on voters to accurately follow the rules. Once you cast your ballot, how do the election officials know it's actually you?
The ways elections officials confirm whether your ballot is valid or not.